we already have hybrid extraterrestrials working and living among us, in secret for now. They have been helping in various ways, technologically, sociologically, politically, whatever area of society they're engaged with, to help humanity move forward. The idea being that when open contact finally does occur, theoretically we will be told who they are. And I'm not talking about humans on Earth that understand that they also have hybrid genes in them. I'm talking about extraterrestrial hybrids that have not been born on this planet, that have been brought here, that have been living and working among us for decades, working with certain scientists, working with certain officials to help move things forward behind the scenes. That's been going on for quite some time, and that's one of the reasons why when we talk about open contact being relatively imminent, it may on the surface seem like something that's happening very quickly, but it's something that's been building up for decades because of the work that they've been doing behind the scenes for our benefit.
Welcome back with another banger. Yeah. Hit that like, sub it up, no react, bounce. Back with another banger. Hit that like, sub it up, no react, bounce. Y'all feel me? Let's run it.
I have said before on film, I don't believe it's a UFO cover-up. I believe that it's a time travel cover-up. My father, we had the documents. We don't have them anymore on the Philadelphia experiment. Einstein worked on it. My father did reveal that. And I just don't believe, I have said at a very important meeting about time travel. They wanted to know what my father knew and such like that. I have stated my issues, that there is no future and there is no past. There's only now. And the way that I think of it is very simple. As a computer, there are icons. You know your birth, you know your mother, and you know your birthdays, you know when your child was born, and each one is a picture within the brain. Well, the way that time works is those icons are sideways. There is no future. There is no past. There's only the memory of those icons. And can you draw from them as a human being? Yes, you can. But there are those that cannot do that. So if the ET would land here, he would have that ability, and it would segregate our society. See, there are other issues besides religion involved. There's the mental parts that are involved. I don't know if that's hard to follow or what, but these are the type of mind games that need to be played to understand why they do not reveal themselves to the masses.
Going back to but time is, different to what we think. Try to break down what you're just saying there. So
Jesus is dying on the cross right now.
So all past lives, future lives are happening.
We are limited beings. All we can see is when we were born and our timeline to when we die. It's insignificant in relation to the trillions and the universe. It's insignificant. There is no start. If you look at that, it's like Voyager looking back from the edge of our universe, looking back and seeing one single pixel. Is it important? No. Our whole existence is not important into revelation. So why should we measure time? We know we go on after our death. We know we were somewhere before our death. My thinking is that human existence is just a coffee break from eternity. So I know this is deep, but what I'm getting at here is very simple, Kevin. There are other reasons why we don't know. Okay. Some can handle it, some can't.
Okay, so if all time's happening at once, so past and future lives are happening now, right? Mm-hmm. And present moment is real, we've got the rest is an illusion, right? Why is that then, when you say that time travel is the real agenda here, not that we've been visited all this other technology out there, why do you still say that time travel is the real agenda here, though?
Well, time travel is the cover-up, because sitting at this table, which I will explain maybe further later, I was tricked into it by the head of the Black Projects for the...
He said life is just a coffee break in eternity. Bars. Shout out to Paul Corso, son of Philip J. Corso, author of The Day After Roswell. Shout out to Unknown Phenomena. It's true. We know we came here from somewhere. We know we leave and go somewhere else. It's starting to sound like life is some type of train station.
Candace Owens put out a documentary today called The Bride of Charlie, which uncovers Erica Kirk's early years. In the documentary, we find out that Erica Kirk attended a super elite private school called the Tesseract. The Tesseract represents time. A Tesseract is also a cube, which fits inside a hexagram. The god of Saturn is Kronos, the god of time. Planet Saturn supposedly has a hexagon-shaped storm on top of it, created by low-frequency sine wave tones. Sine waves measure time. The elites worship the god of time, Sin, and Saturn. Sin sounds like a sine wave measures time. The Tesseract charter school that Erica Kirk attended was inside a Jewish school called the Looking Glass. Looking Glass is an alleged time travel technology that lets you peer into the future. Remember the Tesseract book we all read in elementary school, A Wrinkle in Time, where the characters travel through space and time by tessering? Time traveling? The elites worship the god of time, Sin, and Saturn. Satan. They believe that by increasing evil in the world, sin, like a sine wave, time, can accelerate the death of the material world and escape it. Sin is separation from God, Adam and Eve. They were separated from God because of sin, when they fell from heaven into linear time. The time trap, mind control, tesseracting the mind. That's what I think all of this stuff is. Candace and Erica soap opera, time travel, conspiracies. It's all a mind programming trap to separate you from God.
Damn, that was deep. Shout out to Symbolism Syndrome. Sin, the signal, just like on a calculator. Reminds me of Dead Hidden. It's toroidal. It goes in waves. A cycle. This is wild, but it makes a whole lot of sense.
Have you seen this? If you shine a laser on Hindu sculptures, the laser will go right through the details of the sculpture. These temples are in the Karnataka region of India, and they don't really make a lot of sense. Because today we would use something like this fiber laser to do that. It is a very high-powered beam of light that is used for cutting and engraving rocks, pretty much stripping the atoms from the material. The result is something similar to what we see in a 900-year-old temple. If we're covering one head to toe in these carvings, then we would probably use something like a carving robot at scale. Because to understand how they did it, we have to understand why they wanted to do it in the first place. Because Hindu temples are unique in the temple ecosystem. These were not places of congregation like cathedrals. In the spiritual sense, cathedrals are more like a spaceship for your consciousness, where a higher form of perception is manipulated using light and sound. Fun fact, they're designed upside down. This way gravity calculates the strongest angles. Since Hindu temples don't need a lot of space inside, they can be designed from the ground up, starting with the Naman. It's a fractal geometric procedure that can be used to calculate perfect east-west alignment. You can think of a Hindu temple more like a bridge between space and time. The alignment sets the frequency of the temple in time. That'll be important later. In space, Vastu Mandala sets the fractal pattern in space. Vedic architecture treats the temple as a literal being. It's a channel that entity can move through. In a way, it's like a computer chip that bridges the subatomic with the cosmic. The idea here is to translate frequency into form. And that begins with the floor plan. That geometry is the same geometry used in fighter jet antennas. The top of the Hindu temple is called the Shikara. A phased array antenna scans in all directions. Warships use it, same geometry. And inside, you see the geometry of a beam-forming antenna that focuses. Previous video, I showed how the force of magnetism scales. It has a shape. The harmonic scale used in the design of Teotihuacan. Satellite temples are often found in that same shape. And if you know the geometry to smash particles together, then perhaps biology could take advantage of all of these wave-shaping geometries. By using a medium like water, you provide a scaffolding for that to be possible. By studying cymatics, we understand that every frequency has corresponding geometry. Structured water is what your body's made of. Organic chemistry depends on this water. My invisible thought can make me go to the gym and build a body. And could consciousness without a body translate itself into the material world? Light provides the information, 3D space provides the position, water then translates the flow into experience. Sanskrit texts that this is from are called the Agama Shastra. They explicitly say the temple's function is theophany, the emergence of the divine into the world in a stable, localized form, which would make these the most advanced devices on Earth. This is temple science, and you can learn it if you want, because I teach it. Why? Our internal antennas are now in our external devices. That comes at a cost and dials in consciousness for profit and efficiency. Internal antenna is why we're alive. By reconnecting, we can create a beautiful experience for generations.
That is amazing. Shout out to baseforge.us. Sure, this temple science is deeper than just being carved out with lasers. Like, whoa, so fascinating.
Yeah.
Bro, we are so cooked. In a recent meeting, the Pope had to ask priests to stop using ChatGPT when writing sermons. I told you. This is the leader of 1.3 billion Catholics around the world. And for him to announce it like this makes you wonder, how widespread is this issue? In a world's first, he urged priests to, quote, resist the temptation of using artificial intelligence when writing sermons because AI will never be able to share faith. And that's kind of crazy because if you think about it, if politicians Politicians are using AI to write speeches. Governments are using AI to write laws. Therapists are using it to respond to patients. And even now, priests to share the word of God? In 5 years' time, how much of the world's thought will even be human anymore?
The original AI is ancient. Demons are the original AI. They are spirit programs. They are reactive background processes. They are not creative. They've been around much longer than 1963. Solomon controlled at least 72 demons, and Solomon's time was much more advanced and much more organic, holistic technology. He controlled them with the seal of Solomon. He was the Lord of the Ring of demons. In Islam, they're known as jinn or genies. This is where we get the genie in a lamp. They can also be installed and uninstalled from people's bodies. They are commonly installed in traumatic moments, like hospital birth and circumcision. Solomon uses them to build the temple, employing the Shamir, another organic AI. That's where we get carvings like this and this. This organic tech was worldwide. It's written about across many cultures. Fallen angels are demons, spirit programs, and people crossbred with them. People farm demons to make drone armies. Demons have been positioned throughout the world like watchdogs. Some of these clones even severed their ties with their origins. That's what the World Wars or Reset Wars were. A severance. That's what the Battle of Gog and Magog is. That's what the orphan trains are. And the orphan asylums. Dissemination centers for programs. They are easily mass possessed for war and major societal changes. We are living in the Clone Wars. They are used like Doeg the Edomite to absorb karma. All the drones are compartmentalized. This keeps them stuck in vanity traps because they've been separated from others. They've been severed from reality, aka dream life. They never really dream, just memories in REM trance at best. True insomnia, mass insomnia. The severance from their dreams allows them to be used as dream portals for attack. The dreams have always been the front line in the war. The separation from the dream or reality allows people to do heinous things like this, and the spirit programs were already implanted long ago, if not generations ago. Heaven is base reality, aka dreams, real dreaming. And the dreamers are waking up. We are transitioning to the other side of the loop. The Bible is an explanation of the loop of events. One season is the producer season, one season is the parasites. The dreamers are the hosts for this reality. As they wake up, all the demons become activated, all the projections, all the background processes. Personalities are demons, programs that grow inside of you from the point of a trauma or from a high stress situation. We have been split. People are split within, and the crossbreeding has created more fragmentation. Now people reincarnate randomly across the grid, and soul groups are fragmented, so when people meet, it seems more random. The separation allows for infiltration and usurpation. It's all about the identity theft. Take the identity and take the real Holy Land to invert the world, making it more hospitable for parasites.
This man just cracked the Matrix. Shout out to Taylor Durden, man. Wow. Demonology.
New fear unlocked. During flash flooding in Omaha, Nebraska in 2021, several people became trapped inside a stalled elevator which was descending toward a lower level that was already completely flooded. After water rushed into the cabin and rose toward their necks, someone called 911 while warning that they may not survive if help didn't arrive in time. Rescuers eventually forced the doors open and pulled them out. Despite the traumatic experience, all of them survived and no one was seriously injured. This was the moment a Brazilian journalist was electrocuted on live TV. In 1996, Lazier Martins was reporting from the Festa de Uva, a major grape festival in southern Brazil, when he touched a cluster of grapes mounted on a metal display that had become electrified. The decorative setup had been wired with small light bulbs, and investigators later said the lighting system was improperly grounded, allowing electrical current to pass into the metal structure supporting the grapes. When Martins made contact, he completed the circuit and received a 220-volt shock, knocking him to the ground and briefly rendering him unconscious as cameras continued rolling. The incident was treated as an accident tied to faulty wiring, not intentional tampering. Martins survived without lasting injuries and eventually led a successful career in politics.
That elevator situation was crazy. Like, I think the elevator flooding might be my worst nightmare as well. Shout outs to Morbid Facts.
Jeffrey Epstein has leaked email of people going out and doing hunts.
What?
Hunting for pleasure, all hunting them like game.
The heck?
There was actually a woman that's leaking the information of what she said was a Rothschild's hunting trip, right? And specifically certain types of people too, which makes it even more disturbing. This is to Epstein, going to mean Lana's party now to hunt. Why would you be going to a party to hunt? Snipe hunt is over. Moon cricket in a field bag. And then the bottom is so messed up. Look, guess what? Their words.
No.
Yeah. That's what they're saying in the email. There's speculation they would take a whole bunch of throw them into like a forest on a deserted area enclosed where they can't escape, and they would hunt them like game. And what's even more crazy is, what if this was the first step before consumption?
It makes sense.
There's no exact proof yet where these locations were.
Okay.
And I don't think necessarily was the island.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thrilling hunt from Ariane de Rothschild. Amazing old male. Amazing hunt.
What the?
She's talking about who she got.
Pájaros. Hostia, ¿qué cojones? Es que sí, ¿qué cojones es eso? Son putos ovnis, hermano.
¡Hostia puta!
¿Dónde están?
Ahí.
Ahí, sí, se ven. Al final. Estoy grabando uno. Hostia, qué puta pasada, ¿qué coño es eso? Hermano. Luego decís que no existen, hijos de la gran puta.
¿Qué?
Dios, allá al final.
Andromedans tell you that the Alpha Draconans are here now. Where?
There are 1,833 of them that have been living underground between 100 and 200 miles beneath the surface. They've been here, some of them have been here a long, long time. They have lifespans that are thousands of years. They're carnivorous. They are not friendly to mankind, at least the ones that are here.
Are you saying carnivorous, they eat humans?
Yes. And they won't eat a dead human. It has to be alive at the time of it. Their preference, and we've been told, you shouldn't talk about that. There are other people say, well, you better not talk about the reptilians. Well, bull. Why not? According to the Andromedans, they're responsible for 31,712 disappearing in the last 25 years from the United States. These were food. And I'm supposed to just shut up and not say anything about it because people don't want to hear it? That's tough. Westchester County, in the last 5 years, 3,000 in Westchester County, New York, have vanished without a trace. Where are they going? Why are we allowing this to happen? And why should people stay in denial about it?
Now, how are they able to do this? How are they able to? How are they able to do it? How are they able to come up out of this from underground and do it, or do they have?
There are tunneling systems everywhere. They're being helped by the Greys, and also there are groups within the higher echelon that are actually helping them acquire this.
So human beings are giving them to the Greys, who in turn give them to the Alpha Draconans?
That's right. That's part of the deal. They won't come up as long as we feed them down there. You understand? It's about human beings selling themselves out. The echelon attitude here, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of humanity. And sorry, that just isn't right. But it's going to have to be humanity that's going to rise up and take the stand. You're just going to have to turn off your televisions. They're going to have to get in their car. They're going to have to fire everybody in Washington, D.C. that knows and does nothing. And they're going to have to do something. This apathy's got to end. Otherwise, the way we live is going to end. Period. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I'm not coming from a fear space. I'm really quite angry about the apathy and the fact that, when people give lectures and try to tell us, people want to stand up and fight with them. Look at what's happening around us. The indications are everywhere. Everywhere. The truth is now an obscure thing. The lie is the norm. There's something wrong here. What's wrong with this picture?
What you're seeing right behind me is the Bohemian Grove right in the middle of a ritual. I'm sure you've heard that some names came out of people who partake of this event. In just 1 second, I'm going to have you watch an interview with what you know now. And I want you to tell me how it makes you feel. And then I'm going to show you the certain people who are getting awarded and tell me how that makes you feel. So these right here are some of the names of people that were basically outed by the New York Post. Conan O'Brien, Michael Bloomberg, Aaron Schmidt, Paul Pelosi, of course Pelosi, right? Jimmy Buffett, Charles Koch, Henry Kissinger, Clint Eastwood, and Justice Clarence Thomas. But we do know all prominent figures in media, entertainment, even music are all partaking of these events. Like I forget someone said in the past, is where a whole bunch of grown men run around without clothes in the woods. So we all know what kinds of people go there. But not limited to them, even people who tell the truth go there too. Now rewatch the interview with Ellen and Selena with what you know now, and let me know what you think about it. And then after that, I got something to show you.
Guess what? So I thought that you were gonna scare me when I came in. I don't know why. So in my dressing room, you have the bathroom with the cameras. So I put towels all over the camera, and I went and peed in Kobe Bryant's dressing room. Because I was scared.
Well, you're right. I was trying to scare you.
Really?
You got here an hour early, and I was trying to scare you, and it was too soon.
Selena was just being a child. Ellen, on the other hand, she wasn't happy about her finding those cameras, was she? Watch again, the eyes don't lie.
And peed in Kobe Bryant's dressing room. Because I was...
Now remember, all the people that got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Mighty fine inversion, don't you think? Every single one of them completely unrelated from the very beginning of this video, right? Yeah, a lot of y'all might be new here, but it's always been like this. As they lap right in our face. Let me know what you guys think below.
I'm thinking, why would there be cameras in a bathroom? That's crazy. Now we know the names of the men who be running around the woods butt naked. Shout out to the real Moo Henry.
Another way of describing the New World Order.
This is the all-seeing eye of Osiris. Why is that on American money? And there's wrinkled skin around it, like it was a reptilian eye. And here's the Committee of 300, who keep a space between the Illuminati and the rest of you peons. And here's all the rest of you, especially here. Now, years ago, there used to be a banner under this that said, E pluribus unum, one for all. What does it say now? Novus Ordo Seclorum. New World Order. Did you notice? Did they put that in the newspaper? Look at your dollar bill and you'll see it.
This is a decommissioned Air Force base. You also write that the government at this present time is utilizing Air Force bases for other purposes.
They're creating it as detention centers and re-education centers to be used in the future when the New World Order becomes public knowledge. And you know what we see in Guantanamo now in Cuba? Picture that across the United States.
If this video gets shadow banned, consider my point even more proven. But also, if you could share, that really helps. If you're finding this video, how many views does it have versus how many likes does it have? If it has a lot of likes and not a lot of views, report TikTok to your regulator, please. Everything that I'm about to say in this video comes from primary sources, from the SEC, the 9/11 Commission, and academic research from 3 separate universities. You can get the full essay on my Substack, allymacforever.substack.com. There are no shortage of conspiracy theories around 9/11. Was it Bush? Was it the CIA? Maybe. What I'm about to share with you is what hard empirical evidence can confirm. For a lot of Americans, especially of my generation and older, 9/11 is one of the deepest wounds in American history. Thousands of ordinary New Yorkers and brave firefighters and medics were unfortunately killed on this day. But the day also became the catalyst for America's war on terror, which then took the lives of 1 million Iraqis. I want to park the emotion there for a minute. It has been over 20 years since this event, and we need to look clinically and coldly at the money. We need to look at Wall Street and what was happening on the trading floor just days before those planes hit. I need to first explain to those who don't know what a put option is. If you know, you can skip about a minute from here. A put option is basically a type of bet. So stock is a tiny slice of ownership in a company. If you own stock in American Airlines and American Airlines has a good year, the value of your stock goes up, so you can sell it for more than you paid. A put option is the opposite bet. It gives you the right to sell your stock at a fixed price by a certain date, even if the price has crashed. Let's say American Airlines shares are trading at 50 cents each. You buy a put option that says I can sell these shares at 50 cents anytime in the next month. that put option costs you 2 cents. If nothing happens to American Airlines share value within that month, you lose your 2 cents. Nothing happens. But if in that month something terrible happens to American Airlines and their share value drops to 20 cents, your put option is now worth 30 cents. You bought the right to sell your stock at 50 cents, and that stock is now worth 20 cents. So that 30 cents is your profit. Now imagine you knew something terrible was going to happen to American Airlines. You would load up on put options. You would buy as many as you could, as cheap as you could. And when the price crashed, you would collect. That is exactly what happened in early September 2001. In the 5 days before the attacks, something unusual showed up on the options market. On the 6th of September 2001, put volume for UAL, which is United Airlines' parent company, skyrocketed to over... Then on the 10th, put volume for AMR, which is the parent company for American Airlines, skyrocketed to over 4,000. Usual daily put volume for these companies is seen here, 27 per day. This is calculated at 285 times the normal trading volume. But it wasn't just planes. I've only captured Morgan Stanley here, but a number of World Trade Center tenants also had skyrocketed put options in the day before 9/11. Morgan Stanley seen 80 times the daily average of put trade in the 4 days before 9/11. Merrill Lynch, also located near the towers, seen 12,215 puts in the 4 days before 9/11. No other airline seen similar spikes, and there are 3 separate peer-reviewed studies that confirm these patterns are statistically abnormal. Alan Peteshman at the University of Illinois, publishing in the Journal of Business, found that put options were in the 99th percentile in the days before 9/11. In plain terms, if you lined up every single day of options trading in American history, the days before 9/11 were more extreme than 99 out of 100. His conclusion, and I quote, was, "The data is consistent with informed investors having traded options in advance of the attacks." At the University of Zurich, Mark Chesney, Remo Cremiri, and Loreno Mancini also found at least 13 instances of abnormal trading consistent with insider trading. And their method controlled for hedging, meaning they ruled out the possibility that these trades were just banks doing normal risk activity. Separately, Wing Kung Yong, Howard E. Thompson, and Ki Hong Tae examined the S&P 500, and they measure how frightened the market is. They also found abnormal spikes just before the attacks that could not be explained. This is 3 separate studies, 3 separate universities, 3 separate continents finding the same thing. Someone traded on advance notice. But where this gets interesting is where those trades went. The largest single cluster of put options went through one brokerage, Alex Brown. That name matters a lot because of who built this company. Alvin Bernard Buzzy Krongrad was born in 1936. He served in the US Marines and then studied law at the University of Maryland before joining Alex Brown in the 1970s. By 1991, he was the CEO, and by 1994, he was the chairman, the firm's most powerful figure. This was at a time when Alex Brown was bringing to market for the first time Oracle, Microsoft, AOL, Starbucks, Dell, Yahoo, PeopleSoft, 3Com, and Checkpoint Software. During the exact same period, Buzzy Krongard was also a consultant to the directors of the CIA. In the late 90s, Buzzy leaves Alex Brown and goes full-time with the CIA. And 6 months before 9/11, he is promoted to executive director of the Central Intelligence Agency. So the man who built the brokerage that the biggest cluster of pre-9/11 put options went through was, on the day of the attacks, running the daily operations for the CIA. The Securities and Exchange Commission started to review trades on the 12th of September, but they concluded they had found no evidence that anyone who traded had advanced knowledge of the attacks. They traced 95% of the United Airlines put options to the single institutional investor. They even interviewed the CEO and the trader. The firm said this was just a bearish bet on the whole airline sector, even though it was only done against American Airlines and United, and the SEC accepted that. They then redacted the name of the investor and classified the entire report. They then spent a decade fighting Freedom of Information requests. When the National Security Archive at George Washington University finally forced this release in 2010, the name was still redacted. Separately, the SEC's own Office of Inspector General documented that the SEC had destroyed pre-investigation files called Matters Under Inquiry. This violated federal record-keeping rules. This SEC investigation was flawed in its design because it centered around one single question. They were trying to establish, did Al-Qaeda or its associates profit from these trades? When the answer to that narrow question was no, they stopped looking. They never asked if it was a US hedge fund. Meanwhile, Krongard's successor at Alex Brown, Mayo A. Shattuck III, weirdly resigned the day after 9/11. Explanation ever given as to why. He just moved into a new job in the energy sector. I'm running out of time, but if you go to part 2, I'm going to talk about Krongard and his brother and how they introduced Blackwater to the CIA.
Now that's what you call following the money. That's wild. I like how she broke that down. Shout out to Ally McForever. Yeah, I've never seen this information before, and I've seen a lot of information.
Sporting events on their geek television sets.
But that means actors and athletes will still have to do their job.
Listen to this. No, the actors and athletes won't be real people. They'll be electronic images programmed to go through the motions of a play or a variety show or an athletic event.
Hey, imagine
Hold
Joe
on.
Namath can sit at home and watch himself
Hold on,
playing
I'm
a
gonna
football
rewind
game.
it. It won't be real people. They'll be electronic images programmed to go through the motions of a play or a variety show or an athletic event.
Hey, imagine Joe Namath can sit at home and watch himself playing a football game that he never really played.
That's already going on. He'll have to wear himself out doing the job of work. The geek will do it all.
Well, how about a school kids, Professor?
Let me show you. Every child will receive school lessons at home on his Geek TV. There'll be no need for schools or teachers.
No schools?
No teachers?
Wow, groovy!
It's a miraculous machine, Professor. I'm greatly impressed.
You know something though? Even if I complain sometimes about homework, I really enjoy school.
This is not a lens flare and you can't convince me otherwise. It's sitting right there in that chair. The original poster took a few photos while her and her family were out camping, and in several of the photos there is an image of something sitting in this chair. It looks like a light being, and it even looks like their legs are crossed. And this isn't the only photo that it was captured in, which convinces me that it's not just a lens flare, because not only was it captured in this particular photo, but it was captured in the same chair in this photo. Right here, it doesn't even have like a glow to it, it's more of a blob. And then in the next photo, it's in the same exact chair again. I just think it's too much of a coincidence, because here it is again in the same exact chair. This time it's not a full apparition, it's just more of like an orb-like thing. But in 3 separate photos and 3 separate angles, there is an anomaly sitting in this chair. What do you guys think? You think it's a coincidence? You think it's some sort of lens flare that's captured in 3 different photos at different angles? Or do you think this is a ghost joining the family in some family fun time? Let me know your thoughts on this one.
That's definitely a ghost. Like it was from Red Dead Redemption. Shout outs to Chelsea. Whoa, that's wild. Cameras don't lie.
Did you guys know that there are actually angels that are on earth right now? They're not just all in heaven. There are 4 angels who are chained under the river Euphrates. You guys know the great river Euphrates? It runs through Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. In this river, there are 4 angels that are chained there, waiting for their day to wreak havoc on the earth. When I say wreak havoc, I mean like wreak havoc. And what's insane about it is these angels are going to be released when all of the river dries up. And right now, the river is drying up pretty drastically. You'll hear people say, oh, it's dried up before, but it's never completely dried up. But through the times that it has dried up, there was caves that were discovered, giant caves that were under the water. Water used to be above this spot up here. And there were caves that have been revealed that are under this river Euphrates, which is interesting. Some people have also recorded sounds coming from the depths of these caves that are under the river Euphrates. Now, guess what these creatures or these angels are going to do? They are going to kill 1/3 of the world's population. So for perspective, there's 8 billion people on the earth right now. So that's right around 2.5 billion people. that are going to be destroyed by these angels. Now, these angels are interpreted as fallen angels, but the Bible doesn't explicitly say that they're fallen angels. However, I would assume if they're in chains, that means that they're in prison. So I would assume that they are some of the angels that fell to the earth, which is interesting. So these are fallen angels that are going to wreak havoc on the earth. These angels are going to be released at the sixth trumpet. And there are 7 trumpets.
Man, somebody need to go put some water in that river. Shout out to Zealous for Jesus. I wonder if these 4 are the 4 horsemen. Sounds like something out the book of Enoch.
And there's the flag, blowing in the wind, at least twice, on the atmosphereless moon. We can only guess that most of the missions were staged inside. The most straightforward is simple. When objects are lit solely by the sun, as all the scenes on the moon were said to be, after all, lighting equipment was not only impractical, it was unnecessary in bright sunlight, then all shadows, regardless of the landscape, will run parallel with one another and never intersect, as shown by this example. In these seldom seen photographs, obtained from a rarely used auxiliary NASA archival site, it is clear that these scenes were lit with artificial light. These shadows, which are cast at different angles, are evidence that a second light source is being used. In addition, the sun would not cause an isolated hotspot like this, only an artificial light would. Again, intersecting shadows and another hotspot. And again. And again. It is simply impossible for this picture to have been taken with sunlight on the moon. In this magnification of an Apollo photograph, a rock, very likely a papier-mâché prop because of the crease here, is categorized with the letter C. In later releases of the same picture, the letter is gone, probably airbrushed out. Someone apparently forgot to create a burn crater underneath the lunar module's 10,000-pound thrust engine, despite the fact that during ground tests there was a real concern for the vehicle falling into the hole the engine created as it descended. In these enlargements, it looks as though the lunar module was simply placed there, not even one speck of moon dust on the landing pod. As a result, all subsequent flights had to have the same discrepancy, which was explained away by the effect of no atmosphere.
Apollo 12 photo AS-1246-6765, for example, after computer enhancements, reveals a large light bulb in the center of the sun. After being thoroughly dissected by many researchers, NASA actually removed the high-resolution version of this image from their Apollo gallery.
Ghislaine Maxwell had a relationship with the founder of 4chan, Christopher Poole. His name online was Moot. Yeah. And it basically showed that she was instrumental in moderating a board called POL, P-O-L, and that was one of the really early incubation locations for what became QAnon and the Q drops.
I didn't know that.
And the Q drops really almost resemble the reality of the recent Epstein file dump, but they just include 10% of the craziest stuff you've ever heard in your life, right, and it delegitimizes everything else. Now
that's so interesting.
So what they sort of did is effectively associate like Anunnaki lizard theory about like snakes in the moon controlling our minds, right, and flat Earth with like elite child trafficking, right, and kind of put everything in the loony bin and created these useless rabbit holes for people to dive down. Right. And I just find it super interesting that the recent files proved a tangible connection between QAnon and Jeffrey Epstein.
I had no idea about that. That more people need to know that. But the reality is some of the people who suspected that there were pedophiles that were being protected by the federal government turned out to be right. Like there are a lot of rich and powerful people who were involved with a pedophile who were going to an island where was taking place and faced no consequences and actually were involved in making government decisions, as Epstein's file shows. He's talking to all these politicians. So the instinct of the American people to suspect that something was wrong was correct. Now, it was in QAnon's case, it was presented with all of these conspiracy theories that are patently false. Like they just went after things that make no sense, or the Pizzagate, or, naming particular people. But I didn't realize that could have been an intentional effort, you're saying, to discredit the parts that are true of rich and powerful people engaging with a pet.
So this is a follow-up into the viral video I shared
today on February 24th, 2026 in regards to that shape-shifting alien creature thing. Well, Tammy has come forward and stated that she believes that this may be a Wendigo, and she's provided more of her Ring home security camera footage. And this thing literally looks like it goes from a person back to a dog or something on all fours. Maybe it's somebody playing a joke, but regardless, this is weird footage. And for those who think it's AI, this is not AI. Take a look at this new evidence, comment, tell us what you think this could be. Is it a skinwalker, shapeshifter, alien, or somebody playing a prank?
Very weird, I do agree, especially being caught on a Ring cam. My only question is, why does it have a flashlight? Shout outs to Paranormal Link.
Have you ever heard of double slit experiment? Here's the simplest way to understand it. Scientists fire tiny particles of light or matter at a wall with two small slits in it, expecting them to behave like little bullets. Logically, they should pass through one slit or the other and make two lines on the screen behind. But something strange happened. Instead of acting like solid particles, they behaved like waves. They spread out, passed through both slits at once, and created a ripple pattern like water. Now here's the part that shocked scientists. When they placed a detector to observe which slit the particle actually went through, the pattern changed. Suddenly it stopped behaving like a wave and acted like a particle again, making two simple lines. It was same experiment, same particles, but completely different results, just because they were being observed. In very simple terms, the double slit experiment suggests that at quantum level, reality behaves differently when it is being measured. It shows that particles can exist in multiple possibilities until they are observed. That's why many people say it hints that observation itself plays a role in how reality appears. So the real question is, are we just observing reality or somehow participating in shaping how it unfolds?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. I feel like we could shape our own reality, and even if we don't, reality's still gonna shape itself. Shout out to Azazel9.
You say in your book that mind control slaves were permitted any drug except marijuana. Why? It's an excellent question. The effects of marijuana on the brain are not conducive to mind control.
It doesn't mean you can't be traumatized and put under mind control. It just means it screws up the programming.
Because it actually opens neuron pathways in the brain. It expands thought. I'm not going to stand here and speak pro marijuana because...
No, because somebody be putting it in my car and popping me for it.
but I am anti-marijuana because we see all these ads on TV and everything, and even Dole and Clinton in their campaigns are saying, what's it, Dole said, guns, violence, and marijuana, you know, as if it's so violent, because it is not conducive to mind control. They want it off the streets more than they want their drugs, like cocaine, off the street. Marijuana is especially targeted. I don't promote the use of marijuana as a Band-Aid for mind control because, again, knowledge is our only defense against it.
The entire global propaganda machine is trying to make us believe that Iran is about to have nuclear weapons and they're going to invade the West and impose Sharia law, and that's why we have to go to war. Let's start with 30 years of lies from Israel's prime minister.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks. Could be weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
Here's J.D. Vance reinforcing it.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us.
Now, when it comes to nuclear weapons, Iran signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, agreed to inspections from the regulatory agencies, and never attacked its neighbors except in retaliation. On the other hand, the ones behind this propaganda have over 300 nuclear missiles, never signed the NPT, never had an inspection, even though it is required by international law, and attacked at least 9 of its neighbors. I don't think we should send our sons and daughters halfway across the globe to take care of somebody else's agenda. This is not our fight. The people want peace, and I think we're just about done with the lies.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the deep dive. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. Shout outs to all the reactors. Thanks again. Till next time.